Thank you for coming. My colleague Chris Millett would tell you if he were moderating, you come to the right panel this afternoon. So we're talking about, it's actually not on the screen. We're talking about methods of community engagement and public safety. And so when you, in framing, communities already do most of this work. And when you look at the role of communities in public safety, community norms, community standards, community processes, and what academics call informal social control, these are important in the work because they play a role of backing up the police, not supplanting the work of police, but backing up police without being disrespectful to the work of police. And community ownership of public safety is a target that we should all reach for and attain. And so we have today Bree Spencer, Mama Nia, who was fantastic, Bree Spencer, Ruth Rollins, Christopher Millett, and Claudia, I always forget her, it's hyphenated, Gross Shader. They're here with us today, and they're going to talk about the work that they do in their community and the community work, which makes public safety community owned. You're in for a treat with Miss Ruth Robbins. Ruthie?
I just wanted to, I'm really nervous, so let me just get my thank yous out the way. I wanted to thank the National Network for Safe Communities and John Jay College for inviting Lipstick, and everyone that has supported me to this point, because it's been so great being here for the last 2 days, but I struggled with, do I belong, or does Lipstick belong here? And after sitting on this panel with all these great people, I know that I belong, and I'm grateful to be here. So I'm here today to talk about Operation Lipstick. Stay on time. Okay. So I'm here. Could you hear? All right. So I'm here today to talk about Operation Lipstick. My name is Ruth Rollins, and I am from Boston, Massachusetts. So I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about Lipstick and myself, and I can't talk about Lipstick without talking about myself. Born and raised in Boston, I had been doing advocacy for the last 18 years, whether I was supporting family and friends on both sides of gun violence. I'm going to slow down because I'm trying to rush. So for the last 18 years, I have been supporting friends and families that were impacted by gun violence, whether it was through funerals or whether it was through the legal process. Little did I know, in 2007, a tragedy would hit my door. My 21-year-old son, Warren Daniel Hairston, was murdered. He was shot in the head. He went missing on the 21st, and they did not find him until the 25th. Even with that, I was trying to practice some type of forgiveness. I wanted to be part of the solution, and I met a woman named Nancy Robinson. My day job, I am a domestic violence advocate, and they had a campaign, ladies involved in putting a stop to inner city killing. My son's case was never solved. I wanted to know, how does a 14-year-old boy get a gun that never left his housing development? And I need to be honest, and I'm being real transparent, I thought the police were dropping the guns off in our community. I didn't know, it was ignorance. I didn't know how all these kids were ending up with guns. And when I met Nancy, one of the ways, and I need to say one of the ways that we found out, although I am from Massachusetts and we have some of the strongest gun laws, they were buying guns from surrounding states. So what Lipstick does, it addresses straw purchasing. So those that don't know what straw purchasing is someone who buys guns for someone that's unable to get them legally. And through research, we found out that it was a direct result of some of the killings that were happening in our community. So, this is the iron pipeline. It's the gun dealer, the straw purchaser, in some cases. And for me, being a domestic violence advocate, it made so much sense because this is what I was seeing that was happening in our community. I went to the workshop early and I shared about old school DV and new school DV. New school DV in my area, what we're seeing a lot of is the young girls hiding, holding, and storing guns. Even the grandmothers, they know about the guns in the back room. And the work that Lipstick has been doing has been able to empower and educate women not to take someone else's life. So this is what we consider the iron pipeline. How the straw purchaser buys the gun, they distribute it to our community, and there's always a victim at the end of the gun. So, there's been talking a lot about police. Our district attorney in the Boston area has been very, very supportive with Lipstick. He works closely with us. He credited us with reducing crime guns. He credited us by reducing crime guns by women by 33%. We also was part of a MBTA campaign. I don't know if you guys can see it here. That ran for about 9 months in the Boston area. His Crime, Her Time, which was very instrumental with supporting other women and getting women involved. So meet the Lipstick ladies. These are a lot of, well, these are half of them. A lot of different women that it's not survivor driven, although there are a lot of women that are affected by gun violence in our community. So you have domestic violence advocates, you have hair salon people, you have people that work in community programs, you have people that work with juvenile programs. This woman right here is Patricia. Tricia is a Mary Kay lady. She brings the Lipstick message into her everyday work as well. So part of our workshop, we have this young lady, and that was the aha moment for me. It was the aha moment for everyone. That is a video that plays, and her name is Rashonda Riley, and it's on YouTube. She shares how she bought 40 guns for her classmate. And they found the guns in New York, and she was prosecuted. She lost her scholarship. She ended up doing, I don't know if she got jail times or probation. But what happened with that video, for the community, I need to say because I'm from the urban area, that it put a name to what was happening in our homes or a lot of people's homes, or, you know, because I think about the war on drugs, right? Back in the day, people were holding drugs and hiding them for their boyfriend, but it's a different day. So what I see in our community, a lot of women that we deal with, we see in the workshops, is upgraded. So a lot of these women are hiding, holding, and storing guns for their loved ones. Well, Rashonda has been one of our biggest cheerleaders in terms of outreach and working with women. Most recently, she's working with women that are incarcerated. She's one of our Lipstick ladies as well. Okay, so the next video. So what does Lipstick do? It educates and empowers women not to be involved in that type of behavior. We do advocacy, we go into the community, we meet people where they're at. We call it Department Youth and Service in Boston. We go to juvenile places, we go to schools, we go to churches, we do workshops. This one right here is a beauty day event. So we were doing nails and doing lashes, that people were coming in and being educated and informed in regards to straw buying, and we had over 3,000 women sign pledges. So, this is one of our workshops, and we talked about policing. So our policing has been, we work well with the district attorney, the mayor, the governor. Most recently, we were featured in the People's Magazine. We've been doing a lot of great work, but in terms of our community, I call them officer friendlies. We had 2 officer friendlies, and one of them was in the picture in the back. That was part of supporting us and the women in the room. So let me give you a snapshot. There was a lot of talk about trauma and mental health, and for some reason in our community, when we mention that word, there's a stigma around it, right? So we like to call it the thing, whatever that may be, whatever you want to heal from, whether it's sexual abuse, domestic violence, any type of trauma things that you went through. And in our workshops, something would happen. It was like, people were taking ownership in regards to the gun violence in their home because it was a non-judgment zone. So you had mothers talking about guns being in the back room, you had young girls coming forward, you had everyone saying their involvement with gun violence. And for me, it was part of my healing process. Again, I am a survivor, and I need to say that my son that was murdered was driving some of the violence in our community. And what tends to happen with the media and the police, we got this thing with good victim and bad victim. That's right. But I need to say that all our babies matter. And through Lipstick, I'm only one of many. I mean, I was very instrumental in starting this program, myself and Nancy Robinson, and we've trained hundreds. And we've saved lives, and one of the great things, you can go back, one of the great things that we have by having the police in there, he had a job to do, but he would support those women. He couldn't take the guns, but we could leave them in a disclosed location. He would support them. He would go. It was like community policing. Why was he supporting us? Because he was a pillar of the community. And there's no judgment. He was invested in the community. So he came to our workshops and he helped us. We're talking about mothers. We're talking about sisters. We're talking about people that was involved in this behavior. And for some reason in our community, it's the norm. But Lipstick created an environment that it was safe. If you love them, we love them too. If you hate them, we hate them too. But how can we support you to break that behavior? So with that, and part of my healing, and I need to, like I said, I was really nervous with, but you know, I think I share that I am one. I am the statistics that you guys talk about. And I have a tagline that your past does not have to be your future. So I talked about my Danny, and like when I was doing all this work with and just my story, there's plenty other mothers just like me. That when I was doing this work, and there were so many mothers in the room, and when I bring my son, because when my son died, they didn't talk about him, they put his criminal record in the paper. So it wasn't about my child, but I knew his life mattered. And when I did that, what happened was I suffered for a while in silence. But it wasn't until I brought my Danny into the room, there was countless other mothers that was going through the same thing. And it was a platform of healing. So Lipstick created an opportunity for healing. But with that being said, as I touched and empowered other mothers and other people that were affected both ends on gun violence, I need to say, like, I was still suffering in silence. My story's a little different. I'm that mother that was affected on both ends. So my oldest son was incarcerated for 10 years. So here it is, I'm doing all this work, locally, nationally, in People's Magazine, and I'm getting all this support as a survivor. But there was nothing for the victim's mom. But what I realized is what you do to one side, you have to do to another in order to break that cycle of violence when it comes to community. So Lipstick helped me find my voice. But I'm not, I stand here today, there's so many women like me in Boston that have been empowered, that has not let this, you know, like, just left the building. And that's my truth. You know, and I know the verdict is still out. You know, like, we have women in the room. Like, you know, like, I asked a few people to just sit in so I could just look at them, because when you talk about this work and you're among law officials and you're along, the verdict's still out, right? Amen. There's still that stigma. It's still bad victim, good victim, or whatever, but then that cycle of violence just continues. So my theory is, if you touch that mother, if you touch that sister and lift them up, you can interrupt that cycle of violence. And we heal as a community, right? But if you put a Band-Aid on the survivor, and then the victim, the perpetrated mom, her son's locked up, and she got 3 more kids at home, and she turned her life around, she's doing well, and she's working, but I call it guilt parenting. She's guilt parenting, and they got all the guns in the back room. But we're not working with her to break that cycle, right? So I believe what we do on one side, we have to be and don't get me wrong, I ain't always been here, but I know that the part of this work, so And I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored that Nancy invited me here. So through my healing and my work, I created a program, We Are Better Together, the Warren Daniel Houston Project. I am still a lipstick lady. I walk with lipstick. I support. I go out and speak anytime. But through my journey and my accountability, because I need to be honest, before my son died, I found guns in the home. But I came from the stigma. What happens in the house stays in the house, and it was a lie. I needed to take ownership about what happened on my watch. And it was painful, but I did. I started peeling the layers like I'm a survivor of many things. But what I realized, what I realized for me, I do this work in honor of my Danny and all babies that have been lost to gun violence and our babies that are incarcerated. So I created this program, We Are Better Together, the Warren Daniel Houston Project, and it's to educate and support families on both sides, so nobody's feeling victimized. And my goal is to create a 6-part series in terms of healing. So my tagline is the truth. Your past does not have to define your future. So that's my presentation, and the last slide is lipstick, all about helping women to keep guns off the street.
Thank you for today. And let me say this. Ruthie, that's what those of us who love her call her, Ruthie, you do belong in this room. And you're a part of this network. And we appreciate you for sharing your story. A lot of us get paid to do what we do. Baby, you just paid us big time today. Thank you.